Oh boy, I can't wait to see the comments threads.
It's the great adventure of my life, and I feel emotion everywhere.
Neal Morse's The Great Adventure. I need to start this video with a little bit of a confession. I haven't really done much to check out Neal Morse Band's stuff. I've, of course, been a fan of Neal Morse through Spock's Beard, Transatlantic, Flying Colors, and despite a couple of differences in our religious opinions, I've even enjoyed a couple of his solo albums as well. But I've never really given the Neal Morse Band the time of day. And there's a couple reasons for that, and some of them are actually quite relevant to this album. One of the issues that seems to come up a lot for me with Neal Morse is the fact that his albums all kind of sound identical in a lot of ways. He has a very particular sound that he goes for, and it's always kind of in that same vein no matter what project he's working in, what band he's in. It's always just, here's Neal Morse's sound, live with it. And this is true whether he's doing a solo act, whether he's writing music with a band, writing music in a more collaborative fashion or not. He is such a dominant feature in the sound of whatever project he's in that automatically anything Neal Morse just sounds like Neal Morse. Another thing that kind of stymied my ability to check out these Neal Morse Band releases is that because of that, I'm not really too keen on going on iTunes and purchasing them, going to a record store and buying the CD, and he doesn't put his music up on any contemporary streaming services. He's only just the other day released his new streaming platform for all things Neal Morse. And another issue that I found is that his last album, The Similitude of a Dream, just got ridiculously overhyped. Especially from Mike Portnoy, who compared the album to the likes of Tommy and The Wall. And I've only just given The Similitude of a Dream a listen, and it is a great album. Easily one of the better sort of traditional prog releases of the last few years. But I don't think it's going to quite come off as a classic like, say, this album in 20 years. That being said, The Similitude of a Dream was an excellent album, and looking at the new album, The Great Adventure, this is a sequel to The Similitude of a Dream, or at least a retelling of the story. I'm not going to go too much into the lyrics because I'm not really familiar with the story behind it, but I do know that this is a bit of a retelling of the story from another character's perspective. The first thing that you notice when you look at the album cover art is that it is pretty much identical to The Similitude of a Dream. This is not a coincidence. The two albums are inexorably linked together. But beyond that, the music is also very much linked. There are some themes that do repeat themselves from the previous album, such as the song Long Day, which is also present on this record. The structure overall is the same. Both albums run around the 1 hour 45 minute mark. They're both 2-disc sets, although the first one plays a little bit more as a sort of 2-act, everything is all connected and there are good track segues, whereas The Great Adventure, there's a little bit more of a disconnect between the songs. You can take songs more as individual components of an album rather than small parts of a greater whole. There are some really great tracks on The Great Adventure that can be taken individually outside of the context of the album as really good songs. Both of the Welcome to the World tracks, for instance, have this really great massive chorus, and I love the catchiness of it. It's just a great, kind of cheesy prog moment, but I love the sound. The title track is also just a really great sort of, I want to call it the American prog sound, where, a lot of bands maybe rip off bands like Yes. I find that Neal Morse tends to go for more of the 70s American prog sound, like your bands like Kansas and Styx and Rush. and he really pulls that off quite effectively with the title track. There are a couple of really fun moments on the second disc as well, such as the track Vanity Fair, which is really silly, but I just really love the way it's all put together, especially that cardboard people backing vocal. It's just really fun. And the ending of the album has a couple of really great moments as well. I'm not too hot on the closing track, A Love That Never Dies. It's just not really my thing. So this album, it did get a lot of the hype that Similitude got, and I can't really justify it. I mean, it is a really good album. Easily an 8 or 9 out of 10 in my books. But especially with Mike Portnoy sort of overhyping the whole experience, I did find that this album is really just an average Neal Morse record. There's not really anything surprising. If you're already a big Neal Morse fan, there isn't going to be a moment on this record where you're going to go, wow, I didn't know Neal Morse could do that. It's all very standard Neal Morse. About the only thing that's sort of left of center on this record, and this was also true of The Similitude of a Dream, is that Neal Morse does let himself kind of lay back a little bit and let others have more of a voice in the music, particularly with the vocals of keyboardist Bill Hubauer and Mike Portnoy, as well as Eric Gillette's amazing guitar solos. I will single that out as just a really incredible feature on this album. Is the guitar solos are just mind-blowing. Eric Gillette is one of those shredders who manages to both combine substance and style into something where there's still a lot of technicality, but he puts a lot of himself in the solos as well, and they're just really incredible. Although the one in Welcome to the World Part 2 is, it's a little weird at first, but you get used to it after the first listen. Now, I have listened to this album a few times, and it did get a little bit better each time you listen to it, but I have to wonder how this album is going to fare going into the end of the year when I start making my top 10 lists. Especially with all of the other great albums that are going to be coming out, probably from bands like Dream Theater, Korn, Tool, Rammstein. It has all of that to contend with for me, and to be honest, I don't know how this album's going to stack up. But it is a really good record, and for all the criticisms that I can give it in terms of being just another standard Neal Morse record, it is a very strong start for prog in 2019, and I really do think this is going to be, if not in my top 10 list, in my top 20. It's going to be an album that I'm going to remember quite fondly for 2019, and I have to give it that. And even though I don't think I'd recommend this album for a first-time Neal Morse listener, I do think that if you're already a fan of Neal Morse, you got nothing to lose to check this out. This is a good album, and it's nothing surprising coming from Neal. It's exactly to a T what you expect from Neal Morse, nothing more, nothing less. And it is that level of quality where I think it is going to be on a lot of top 10 lists this year. Anyway, Lao Show out.
Cardboard people, walking down an open lane. People passing by, wearing hats with famous names written on the side.